We might be too young to have a spotted cow, but we are both diehard Packers fans.
I could talk about this for hours.
He was my legend. He was my quarterback one. Taysom Hill, forever in my heart.
We have a kind of a reputation of being the young and diehard fans. How is that, Dr. Pepper Taysom?
Amazing.
Okay, good. Let's keep it under 25 minutes, all right?
Welcome back into the Underage Packers podcast. So great to have you here on episode 91. We thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us a follow on the Spotify. Find us on the social medias. It's greatly appreciated. I'm Joey, one of your co-hosts. And joining me, as always, all the way up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan is my great friend, Big B here. Big B, how you feeling on this bye week? How are you keeping yourself busy?
I'm listening to a lot more music than I usually do for some reason. So that's how I'm keeping myself busy on this bye week.
So are you kind of branching out, or are you kind of staying in your same kind of realm of Queen and Elton John?
I'm not branching out at all.
Not branching out.
Definitely not.
Yeah, you're fine with what you have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, I've been doing the same. I've been going through a situation and I've been home from school the past 3 days. I'm not skipping. And I've just been I've had Spotify on shuffle all day, listening to some Bon Iver, kind of exploring that a little bit more, kind of like in that Aaron Rodgers indie realm, you know? So yeah, we'll have to have a whole podcast about our music, but when we have Dusty on, that would be a great time to talk about music. Dusty Evely. I'm not sure when that's going to happen. We never even approached him about this, but we want to have Dusty on, and we need to work that out. But we got a few guests kind of in the works, so because it's been a while. The last guest we had on was MK Burgess from WFRV before. I can't even remember what game it was for, but for a game preview a few weeks back. And compared to last year, where we had a guest on for every single game preview, that was kind of insane. So now definitely dull in comparison, but we found our groove. We enjoy talking to people. And not that we're saying that people aren't worth our time per se. It's just we've had those experiences. We're still friends with them, obviously. But now we just kind of I don't know how to phrase it. Because, we like to talk to people. Like you and I don't even know where I'm going with this or why this is necessary. But, you and I, we always talk about how fun and cool it is just to talk to people about the Packers. But yeah, we just haven't worked out too many guests this season. But once we get into the playoffs, so we'll be getting more of our novelty guest, I guess you could say. So I'm excited for that. But we're just solo for now to give you a recap of the Rams game. And then we got quite a bit of interesting topics to talk about. I was reading Big B kind of a rundown of the script right before we started recording. And he said, well, how about you just tell me what we're not talking about? We got a lot on hand. It's going to be an exciting episode like usual. So let's head right into it, starting off with the Week 12 game against the Los Angeles Rams, prime playoff contenders in the NFC. Not so much in running for the first seed after their loss against us. However, Mike Spofford, friend of the show, Mike Spofford at Packers.com, on his little path to the playoffs for the Packers, which he does every year. It's always phenomenal. Even though it's pretty much just the ESPN playoff machine, it's different when Mike tells you who to root for. Mike pointed out that the Rams do play the Arizona Cardinals next week on Monday Night Football. So obviously the Rams are currently 2 games behind the Arizona Cardinals. And so if Cardinals lose this week, Rams win this week, then that game next Monday turns out to be a big time event to watch for NFC teams. So that's where we're seeing that with the playoff race and with LA. But all game with them, which phenomenal win for the Green Bay Packers. I think this was certainly the first game where you saw a really strong performance from the defense and also a really strong performance from the offense. I think both sides have kind of had better performances in the past, but this was one where the two forces joined and just put together an epic game of football. Would you agree with that statement, Big B?
Yeah, yeah. The defense definitely had their moments where, they let up a couple big plays, but otherwise they were fantastic. Offense looked great as usual. I think they're finally found their groove, and it's so
Yes.
exciting to watch.
I know. It was like I don't know if I'd say I was concerned to a point before this Rams game, and the Vikings game, but I was certainly kind of a little disappointed or underwhelmed because the offense has so much talent, even with the injury safe base, that it hurt not seeing them be anywhere close to where they were in 2020. And they still got a long way to go. But certainly in the second half versus the Vikings, and then in this game against the Rams, they really have improved much. And the Seattle Seahawks game was pretty much the low point for the offense, I guess you could say. And then
Yeah.
they took a quick jump up. So that's good to see. And Aaron Rodgers is playing a lot better. I think it's safe to say that game against LA was his best game of the season so far.
Yep.
Maybe you could make an argument for San Fran, but there's really not too many others that come to mind on where Aaron Rodgers looked more calm in the offense. So that's good to see. Which more calm in the offense, like he's a rookie quarterback learning the system. But yeah, there's that. So there's some quick thoughts. Some other thoughts I had written down here in the script. Quick passing game, we hit on that. But two players who had a really nice game were Equanimous St. Brown and Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb, he faced a toe injury or a foot injury. I think he kind of planted his foot wrong in the first quarter, and then he returned pretty soon after. But then after that, he went out after the first half with a groin injury and never returned. So who knows if those two are related or what, but it looks like he'll be fine. And obviously we got this bye week for him to rest. But anyways, he was doing really good. He ended the game off with 95 yards, just playing about a quarter and a half. So that was awesome to see. And he had one play that was really good. It probably went for like 50 yards, where he goes right over the middle and then he kind of evades defenders. He hugs that right sideline and he is off for the races, which is very reminiscent of it's the Randall Cobb again play in the 2018 Bears comeback. That's pretty much the first thought I had.
Yeah.
So.
I could hear the Bears fans just crying all the way from Chicago, from where I live. So I could tell it affected them very bad.
Yeah, that same kid that made the reason we call it the Randall Cobb play. That same kid, he probably had those cheers again. That kid's whole legacy on YouTube is that 3-hour live stream of him watching that game. So I mean, I'm sure every time he sees Randall Cobb, he has some bad memories.
Yep.
And then Equanimous with Alan Lazard facing some injuries. He's stepped up and he's looked pretty decent. Better than, or I guess not necessarily better, but a whole different role really than how he was used previously. So I like what I see from EQ. And like I said, after the Vikings game, if this offense has to establish its identity with guys like Equanimous St. Brown, Josiah DeGuara, that's fine. But let's get going now, and even if some guys are able to return shortly in time, those are the guys that have to go out there for now. Getting that experience is invaluable. So that's great to see EQ finally stepping up. His contract is going to expire this next year. I would be interested to see. This is kind of not only in terms of getting signed by the Packers, but really having a job outside of a practice squad for some team. These last however so many games are going to be a big tryout for Equanimous after a pretty lackluster first 4 years of his career. So good for EQ. Good to see him put his name out there.
Yeah, and if he can actually stay healthy, Packers might actually offer him something this offseason, potentially, but he has to stay healthy for the rest of the year. And he is making the most of his opportunities the past 2 games. And he's really rounding or stepping into this role very good in the Matt LaFleur offense.
For sure. And I think what they do this offseason, as far as how they go about re-signing people, is going to be really interesting because people obviously are going to be calling for Devontae Adams to resign, which, believe me, I am number one on that boat. Regardless, I don't care how financially irresponsible it might be, or how much I might argue for not re-signing 29-year-old players for big contracts. I don't care. I want Devontae on this team for the next 4 years, at least. Yep. But the Packers, so if they re-sign Devontae, then they're in a real world of hurt for everybody else they want to re-sign. They're going to have Devondre Campbell. He's going to be a free agent. They're going to have Rasul Douglas, who won't get as big money as Devondre, but he's certainly going to get more than what the Packers are paying him right now. Anyways, there's just a lot of role guys that the Packers are going to be desperate to keep. And I think EQ is a very strong example of that, because the wide receiver position specifically is a position they're going to be so desperate to keep anybody at. Randall Cobb, it makes no sense to keep him after this year, especially if you end up trading away Aaron Rodgers. And even if you do end up keeping Aaron Rodgers, unless Aaron is, I don't know, unless Aaron comes into Brian Gutekunst's office and says, "I am going to steal your pen if you don't keep Randall Cobb." That's some serious threats right there. But yeah, they have Randall Cobb, who's probably going to be gone. And MBS is also coming up on a contract here. No doubt he's also going to get some strong offers from some other teams that the Packers might not be able to match. And really, with all these role players at the wide receiver position all around, it's going to be hard to use that same thing that the Packers have been able to keep players around for so long on. We're a really good team. And, we might not have the salary cap because we're paying our MVP quarterback money. And now if Aaron Rodgers is gone, they're going to be losing a lot of other key players that they're going to have to cut just to get under the cap space. We might be seeing Zadarius Smith, Preston Smith, Billy Turner, all gone after this year. So my whole point of this is the point I'm trying to make here. Wide receivers specifically, cornerbacks another position where they're going to be desperate to keep players, and that's where I could see EQ getting a cheap contract just because he's so familiar with the team, familiar with Matt LaFleur, and then you don't have a bunch of maybe a second rounder in there, Amari Rodgers, then 3 or 4 late round picks / undrafted free agents, because the Packers aren't going to be able to afford to sign any premier wide receiver talent if it's not Devontae Adams. Mm-hmm. So that was a really long-winded kind of explanation of any point I'm trying to make, yeah. But that is what it is. Mm-hmm. Equanimeous St. Brown, Rams game. All right, whatever. Done with that. Great chat. Unless you had any other performances you want to highlight, Big B?
Josh Nijman, amazing, still great. He is. Yes. I'm thinking he's elite. I don't know if that's an overreaction or not, but I definitely think he's getting to that point where we can start discussing him being a elite left tackle. Man, yeah. What else? AJ Dillon, still a stud. Yeah, I don't know what else. Rasul Douglas, interception was amazing.
Well, we'll talk about Douglas here.
Okay.
First, though, I want to talk about Josh Nijman.
Yes.
Like I was just talking about, players that in positions that the Packers are going to be in world of hurt in for trying to retain players. Offensive line is pretty much the opposite of that because of how well they've drafted, how well they've developed, and David Bakhtiari is locked up for the next 3 years after this one. And they really have right tackle. Billy Turner's position is really the only one in question, but they have so many guys that they've been developing over these past 1 or 2 years that by next year, if it ends up working out, they're going to be set for more than likely a young quarterback in Jordan Love. So you have David Bakhtiari at left tackle. You have interiors kind of a handful. Elton Jenkins still would have, because this is his third year, right?
Yeah. Shoot.
Yeah, it's his third year because he came in the same year as Rashawn. Third year for Elton Jenkins. So after next year will be his last next year we're focusing on. Josh Myers is going to be only in his second year. You have John Runyon, Royce Newman, and yeah, right tackle is that only position of question. And then you have Yash Nyman coming along here. And I really don't have anybody to compare him to, but I'm sure if I was more knowledgeable on some teams that I watched earlier on in my life, I could tell you of a undrafted free agent offensive lineman that was on the practice squad for a few years and then comes in to start at left tackle and plays a great game. But Yash, I love Yash doing the robot, man. He is such a character. I'm so glad he's on the Packers. And, you know, like you said, he played pretty well. Considering what this offense had to go through against a really good Rams defensive line, only allowing one sack to Mr. Santa, Greg Gaines, Aaron Rodgers' workout buddy. He has a great smile, Greg Gaines. Make sure you check out that NFL film studio with Rodgers and Gaines after the game. That's great content. But Yash Nyman, my favorite play from when I rewatched like the first half of this game, I saw a play from Yash where Aaron Donald initially beats him, and Aaron even gets the tackle, but Yash just keeps on pushing, and he ends up pushing Donald to the ground. And like, you know what, Yash, you kind of let Donald make that tackle, but you are all in, man. You are not going to go down without a fight, and you are going to tell Aaron who is boss. And then Aaron Donald throws a little temper tantrum, like he did last year against Elton Jenkins. Donald grabs Lucas's Patrick throat, like, okay, excuse me. The taunting calls are so ridiculous this year, and that's not even taunting. I'm just thinking, okay, forget penalties. Are we talking about felonies here? Like battery, 20 yards, like, and a $500,000 fine from the government. Like, bro, can't go around here choking players. And then the referee comes in and he sees it. He doesn't call a flag for unnecessary roughness. And the ref looks like Kurt Warner. So my conspiracy is that was actually Kurt Warner there refereeing for that game. And he just wanted to be nice to the Rams.
Yeah.
And then you talked about Rasul Douglas, which is a perfect transition to actually get us to our next point, our next topic of discussion of Brian Gutekunst.
Before we go on to that next topic, I have to do it. I have to do a little rant thing that you triggered in my mind. First, before I do that, Mason Crosby is doing well. All right. He didn't miss 4 field goals this week.
Yes.
Just throwing that out there. He made 3 and missed 1, but that's besides the point. All right. Since you sparked that, Rams, here's my rant. All right. Rams, I hate the Rams with a burning passion after that game. I was more pissed at the Rams after that game ended than I was happy that we won. I went on Twitter and ranted for about like 4 minutes about how much I hate the Rams, and I still feel that way. They're a garbage franchise. Damn near killed Darnell Savage. Like, and that, like, thank God he's fine. Yes. But I hate the Rams so much. Just go on Twitter, look on my profile. You'll probably see it. Scroll down a bit. But yeah, I hate them with a burning passion. They are officially up there for my most hated teams.
I did not know it was possible to encapsulate all these players that I hated on one singular team.
Yes.
And I live in St. Louis, and I don't have any connection to Stan Kroenke, because when they left, I was like, well, okay, that kind of sucks. When the Packers, no more Packers games every 8 years to go to. But like, people hate him, Stan Kroenke, very controversial, married into the Walton family. So there's that. And then you got these guys like Odell Beckham Jr., Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald. No thanks.
They're all crybabies. That's
They
the
are.
worst part. They're so annoying. Like Ramsey throws a fit, Donald throws a fit, Odell throws a fit. It's like every crybaby in the NFL is on the Rams. I can't stand it.
I'm so glad though that they have they're like like right now it's all cherries and lollipops for Los Angeles fans, and NFL analysts are so highly rating them. But after this year, man, talk about planning to be decimated. Talk about a Super Bowl or bust for this franchise. It's crazy. They're sure they have Matthew Stafford. I don't know how long he's contracted to be there, but the amount of draft picks they've given up is absolutely insane. They were the complete opposite of the Packers' plan, and I can't have too many more rants. I'm about to hit my rant like maximum before we have a 2-hour episode for the stuff I want to get to. But
Oh boy.
people hate on the Packers so many times for their reluctancy to go all in, to put all their chips in one pile. But the idea, the philosophy behind the Packers' way of thinking, the way they draft and develop, the way they go about free agency since Ted Thompson and really Ron Wolf is, look, we got MVP level play at quarterback, and we know that's going to be something that we're going to have for the foreseeable future up till 2 years ago. And their idea, like I said, it's the opposite of going all in. And they want to, instead of throwing all these different pieces together to make one quote unquote super team, it's going to sound corny and kind of like unattainable. They want to build the chemistry. They want to build not the best combination of players. They want to find the right combination of players, the right combination of guys that are going to develop into the system. And basically what they're trying to do every year is just put a team every year that's going to be in the race. And I'm not saying that they're fine or content with losing the NFC Championship game every year, or if they end up losing in the wild card. Well, all right, we were in the race, but their goal is to be able to put up a good enough team, because the NFL is so unpredictable that no matter, you could put a team together of Hall of Famers and they're not going to win the Super Bowl every year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they'll win a few, but they're not going to, because so much stuff can happen. And the reason, relating it to the 2020 NFC Championship game, where they had a really good team, that team was good enough to win the Super Bowl, and they should have. But they go to the 2020 NFC Conference Championship game. It's Aaron Rodgers' first NFC Conference Championship game at Lambeau Field. But their players that they've relied on all season are nowhere to be seen. Not named Kenny Clark and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. No matter what you put out there, the NFL is going to be so unpredictable. This isn't the NBA or MLB or the NHL, every other Big Four professional sport where you have 7 games in a series, where more than likely, if you have if your team is on paper better than the other team, you have a pretty good chance of winning. That's not the case all the time, but this is one game, one day, where all the things have to fall into place for you. The Packers know what they have to do for the future. They are always looking out 5 years ahead. What can we do now that benefits us now and for 5 years ahead? And let's try to kind of regroup it all here into one point. I'm not good at this. I'm not like the professional ranters here who can make points and just smash it into one grand idea. The Rams, opposite of the Packers, they want to win the chip this year. They're putting together a bunch of good players. They think they got it. If they lose this year, I mean, sure, or even if they win, okay, sure, you got the win, but now you're screwed for the next 5 years. And if you're screwed for the next 5 years, you're probably going to have to building that team up from 2025 to 2030. That's another 5 years where you're just building back up to mediocre or attending the playoffs again. Packers, though, they're always on the lookout for the next 5 years, and they're just trying to put up a team that is good enough to make the race and can be a team on any given Sunday. Point rested. I need to shoot, bro. There's so much I want to hit on today, so we'll see how much editing goes into this, how much cutting down goes into this. So there's that point on why the Rams are stupid. Now let's talk about Zadarius Smith possibly coming back. He posted a cryptic post on Instagram last night at like 11:30, and he said it's about that time, with a picture of him on the sideline from a previous game, and Jair Alexander was right in frame next to him. Big B, tell us, what is your cryptic analyzation? Is Zadarius Smith going to play next week?
No,
No.
no, I don't think so. I don't see it happening next week at all. I think they will probably practice for like at least a week first, and then maybe come off of IR and then play. So we're looking at about maybe the Cleveland game, possibly, if they are coming back to practice this week.
I completely agree with you.
That's what I think.
Yeah, I know people want to get excited, but from what we've seen and heard, I don't. Zadarius coming back against the Bears seems unlikely.
Yeah.
And, I kind of bought into it at first, but then it gets even more wacky with Jair in the picture. I'm like, guys, I don't think Zadarius thought about it that much. And I don't think he has that much personal information on Jair's health. Like, I think he just, had this picture in his camera roll, didn't even realize that Jair was standing next to him. Let's just be patient. We'll find out early next week what we're looking at with who's recovered over this bye week. All right, now let's see what else we got on the script. We want to talk about Matt LaFleur versus not they're going head to head, but Matt LaFleur versus Brian Gutekunst. I put a poll on the Underage Packers Twitter yesterday on what do you think is more likely to happen? Brian Gutekunst wins Executive of the Year or Matt LaFleur wins Coach of the Year? And we got 78 votes. But what I hope people were kind of voting for wasn't really who they thought should win, but more so kind of how the biases will be inflicted when the so-called smart people vote for these awards in January. To me, the most likely, I really think there's so much public perception bashing, I guess. There's reasons why the public outside of Green Bay, the media outside of Green Bay, might have ultimatums against Brian Gutekunst, reasons to not vote for Matt LaFleur or either of them. With Matt LaFleur, obviously, has Aaron Rodgers, and they haven't tended to like him the past 2 years in voting. But with Brian Gutekunst, I think the voters are going to kind of not forget about the Aaron Rodgers situation, but in the cutthroat businessman type point of view mind, it's wow, he was, not that he was selfish, but he got Aaron Rodgers back. He's like, okay, I get to I like what Andrew Brandt said, former Packers front office man. He said the Packers get to eat their cake. I forgot what analogy he used, but it was a good one. Trust me on that. But they get to enjoy the fruit of Aaron Rodgers while they can, and then they get to move on to Jordan Love in next year. And they obviously have full faith in Jordan Love. And then the Packers end up benefiting, and Aaron Rodgers kind of gets chumped because now after this year, if he decides he wants to be traded, he's probably going to go to a team that sucks. He'll make it better, but we'll see how much he can do in his career lifetime. But I just had a dark thought. What if it ends up like the Brett Favre situation where they release him after his first year and then he goes to Bears, Vikings? Okay.
Shut up.
Anyways, executive of the year, Brian Gutekunst. If he wins, it will be because of the signings of Devondre Campbell and Rasul Douglas, and the amount of players goes hand in hand with Matt LaFleur's case for Coach of the Year because of the players that Brian Gutekunst has provided for Matt to step in when players have injured. Brian Gutekunst had faith in for Yash Nyman to stay on the practice squad for the past 3 years. Here he comes starting in at left tackle. We've had so many rotational pieces on the offensive line. And he kept Aaron Rodgers happy enough to come back this year. And now he has a strong case for executive of the year. And really, I mean, he should have won it really in 2019 after the 2019 season because of how quickly he cleared house. But Big B, give us some thoughts. We had a whole video, 60-minute video, why Matt LaFleur should win Coach of the Year. Let's hear your thoughts on why Brian Gutekunst should win Executive of the Year.
Well, first I'll start with one thing that might hurt Brian Gutekunst in winning is that he actually let go of Jamal Williams this offseason. That was not very nice, and yeah,
Not very nice.
But yeah, I think he should definitely win it this year. He's brought in Bajorquez, who was a big addition as well. Not really been talking about him as much as an addition with Rasul and Campbell, but he is, like you said, he's provided so much talent to this team to help LaFleur potentially win Coach of the Year. It's a big circle, pretty much.
It is. And I'm looking up here the former Executive of the Year winners. Okay. I was going to say this award hasn't been around for too long because I thought it said 1995, but it was 1955. So it has been around for a while. Looks like Bron Wolf won it in 1992 for the Packers. Let's see if we have any other winners here. We got Ted Thompson in 2011. That's a pretty nice selection there. Last year was Brandon Beane for the Buffalo Bills. Eric DeCosta with the Ravens in 19. Ryan Pace, man. Oh my God. Whoa. Okay. Look at this. I just realized this historic run for the Executive of the Year award from 2015 to 2018. So in 2015, it goes to Dave Gettleman, not with the Giants, with the Panthers at the time. That makes sense. But knowing what we know now, it's kind of funny. In 2016, it's Reggie McKenzie with the Raiders. And then you got Howie Roseman with the Eagles in 2017. And then Ryan Pace. Man. Guys, this is exactly why the Bears need to give how insane would the Bears be if they didn't keep their 2018 Coach of the Year and Executive of the Year? Extend them for 10-year contracts right now.
Yeah.
It'd be insanity if they didn't. But anyways, Brian Gutekunst's strong case for Coach of the Year. We'll see if the voters like to look at the bigger picture outside of, well, he made Aaron Rodgers mad. And why would you draft a quarterback when you have Aaron Rodgers? We'll see if the voters are able to look outside of that.
Okay.
All right, now let's talk about why Cliff Crystal is the man. All right, so I've been going down through my Packers history phase, my Packers history kind of era, deep diving into some stuff. As good friend Aaron Nagler sent me the Packers Legacy DVD, the 10 documentary series, and then also at the same time, I'm doing a project on Vince Lombardi for school. So I've been reading a lot more books, kind of some subclips, some articles, and Cliff Crystal is the Packers team historian. And if you didn't know, he worked on the Legacy series and pretty much every single thing to do with Packers history, Cliff has his hand in. He was hired by the Packers in early 2010s. Can't remember exactly what day it said in the article, but decided by them to be their team historian. And he helped create kind of like the new revised Hall of Fame. He's a big part of the Heritage Trolley tours that they do, big part in, I'm sure, the stadium tours. And he has his weekly or his kind of articles that he does on Packers.com. He's virtually the source finder for everything in the Packers legacy series. So Cliff Crystal, awesome guy. And now he is releasing the book series for the history of the Green Bay Packers. Man, I cannot wait for this book to be out because, like I said, I've been looking a lot more into it, a lot of the stuff. And the history of the Packers is so incredible. Like, Big B, I'm not going to, let's see. I texted you at like midnight around that time because I was reading my Bart Starr biography and the name Jack Venisi came up. And I was like, this is the coolest connection I've ever seen. Packers history needs to be taught in schools because you could have a whole course on this. And now Cliff Crystal is going to give us a textbook. So that's really neat. And he did an interview with the Green Bay Press Gazette, promoting the book here. And let's see, do I have it on hand? Yes. So I definitely recommend reading this because he provides a lot of useful information, kind of promoting his book series that he's going to put out in a few weeks here. And at the end, this is a great article by Rich Ryman, who I follow on Twitter. Just wanted to point that out because he's a cool guy. And basically, he ends this off with a great, phenomenal story from Cliff. So let me just read it straight out of here. The project has added meaning. So the book series has added meaning for Crystal, who only recently found a letter from his father, who he never knew, to his mother shortly before Cliff's birth in 1947. His father was at a veterans admissions hospital in Hines, Illinois, suffering from cancer that likely resulted from his exposure to mustard gas during training in World War II. At the end of the 3.5-page letter, his father, also named Cliff, wrote, "Time to close. Cut out all of the Packers dope from the Press Gazette or any pro football dope. You'll find a lot of Packers dope in our daily sports column." Crystal, the son, did not know until then that his father was a Packers fan. That is crazy. That Cliff, he was a great, well, I assume he's great, writer for the Press Gazette, Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, on the Packers for a long time, devotes his career to them, and then, pretty much has a whole second career being the team historian. And he did not know until just recently when he found, just digging through his basement, and found a letter where he finds out his dad was a Packers fan in the era that Cliff focuses on, pretty much. Like, I guess 1947 was kind of a sucky time for the Packers, but that's just an awesome story.
Yes.
From Cliff Crystal. So definitely recommend. Not that Cliff needs our promotion for his book series, but it's on the Packers Pro Shop. So I cannot recommend it enough. Not only buying that book, but just somehow, some way getting into Packers history, because it's so interesting and so awesome. And the thing that I love most about it is kind of how the city, especially in the early days when they really needed the support of the city for the team, how they revolved around them, how they supported them. And that's really the only reason why they weren't moved elsewhere. So when people like say it's just a piece of paper when you buy a stock, which it totally is, but what you're buying is just a piece of paper, but the sentimental value there it's definitely there. And
the history behind the paper is even
right,
better.
Exactly. That's kind of what I was trying to hint at there, that it's like some people, even during the Great Depression, wanted the Packers to stay around so much that they put out this money for them. And, now might not be the case, but, you're buying a video board for them. So that's cool. And, that's that. So that's Cliff Crystal for you in his book series. Now let's talk about somebody who is not awesome, who's not epic, whose work should not be valued. And that is Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk. I hate talking about him because he is the perfect example of the Skip Bayless, Colin Cowherd type that their whole career, their whole job is based off of people like us getting angry at him. But he put out article, he has quite the liking to trash Aaron Rodgers whenever he can. And he put out this article that's with a headline, Antonio Brown was suspended because he lied to his team in the league. Aaron Rodgers wasn't suspended because he just lied to everyone else. I am not even going to go into why this point is wrong or why it is stupid, because it doesn't take, if you know the stories, it doesn't take a genius like me to see that Mike Florio doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yep.
And there's people on Twitter outside of Mike that are arguing the same point. And I'm just like, guys, dude, what do you not? What are you not getting here? It's not that hard to see that Antonio Brown committed a federal crime to his team, and Aaron Rodgers, let's just lied to everybody else because he didn't want people to be mean to him in the media.
Exactly.
Nobody is saying, when people are defending the case for Aaron Rodgers, nobody is saying that was the right thing for Aaron Rodgers to do. But come on, people. Come on, folks. Put it together. Plug your brain in. Do some critical thinking.
Yeah. At this point, people are just so stupid. It's just funny at this point. Like people are that dumb. Like you just have to laugh at it.
Yes.
We're getting to that point in life, in the world, where you just have to laugh.
That is an all-time flip moment from you there, Big B. At this point, people are just so stupid. It's funny.
Yep.
I'll put that in the new intro when I finally get to working on it. The Packers will win a conference championship game when I finally do the intro.
Yeah.
So, okay. Let's see here. What else we got on him? We've been going for about 49 minutes now. I don't think we're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers MVP case today. I don't think we're going to get to that. That's a little less important. Okay. Well, let's get down to the last two things I want to talk about, and then we'll keep the rest for our Bears preview, so we have something to talk about then. But so Aaron Rodgers turned 38-year-old yesterday, as we're recording this on December 2nd. So Big B, can you think of a moment in time? It's a day after Aaron Rodgers' birthday. Think of a moment in time. I don't know, where somebody says it was his birthday yesterday.
Yep.
Can you think of a specific time then?
Man, I think that Hail Mary in Detroit rings a bell, right?
Oh yeah, on the epic Jim Nance, Al Mike. When was it Al Michaels? Jim Nance and Phil Simms call Aaron Rodgers. Let me see how much I can remember of it here. Okay, let's see. They get a face mask from the Lions, and Phil Simms okay, let's see. Phil Simms you see, the receiver's gonna get there, but can the ball get down far enough on the field? Jim Nance, it's traveling in the air. He turned 32 yesterday. Does he have a vintage moment in him? It's gonna get there. And then they go screaming. So that's Packers history for us. 6 years ago today. That we're gonna make people feel old here, but that's Packers history to me. That's the Packers history I will remember watching as a kid.
Yep.
Because I remember what clothes I had on when watching that. Only because they were NFL helmet pajama pants. If they were just some dinosaur pajama pants, I probably wouldn't remember it. But I remember, oh my God, I remember so much about that night. It's just crazy to think about. Because me and my two older brothers were down there watching the game. Packers are down by 3 possessions for a lot of it. And, then they get the face mask. We think it's over. Julius Peppers had a great strip fumble earlier on in that fourth quarter.
Mhm.
And then, oh, just the moment when you realize, holy crap, Richard Rodgers has that ball in his hands. Man. And then I even remember, I remember a lot about the Cardinals Hail Mary too, but I don't want to talk about that. I ate carrots afterwards, so for therapy. Big
Hmm.
yeah. Do you have any memories of the Hail Mary in Detroit?
Well, that's the point where I wasn't very much into football quite yet, like I
Whoa.
am now. Like I was just getting in there, and I watched the game, so I'm not like screaming my head off or anything. And I
Yeah.
remember I went to bed at like halftime, and
Uh-huh.
I couldn't sleep, and I didn't see the ending. So yeah, and I
Oh
hated myself
no.
for a little bit there afterwards. But besides the point.
The Lions game is pretty much the reason why I like the Packers could be down by 40 points, but if there's more than like 5 minutes left, I'm like, hold on, folks. We're still in it.
Yep.
Like, I did not give up on that Saints week 1 game until like sometime in the fourth quarter. Like, I was thinking in my head, okay, if we get a turnover here, score a touchdown here, onside kick, so but that's that. And I think we're gonna wrap it up here. I think we had some good discussions. I'll have to edit it together, and we'll hopefully have some good topics of discussion, some good rants. I hope will turn out well. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Big B, any thoughts?
Um, Go Pack Go.
Go Pack Go. I am burning up right now. I got my window shining, sunshine on me. I got my 2 bright lights on. I'm in sweatpants and a hoodie. I'm ready to be done recording. But thanks everybody for watching. Follow us on Spotify. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We appreciate all the support. We'll talk to you sometime next week. Go Pack Go.